and welcome to your weekly grind of the electric car peppermill, brought to you by the team at electrifying.com. Right, before I carry on, I have to ask something, please, right? So Mike Askew writes the opening sentence to the podcast every single week, and honestly, he's running out of ideas. So if you could put in the comment section below, if you're watching on YouTube, some ideas of how we can open it. So I thought we could go for like the your weekly ice and a slice in your gin and tonic. No, your electric gin and tonic? That could work. Something like that is what we want in the comment section below. That would be great. So then we can give Mike some ideas because his brain is utterly melting. Meanwhile, on the podcast this week, we're talking about Alpine's saucy A390 fastback and the not so subtle smart #5 and Renault's frankly fabulous 4 prices. Yeah, that's right. We'll also be answering your electric car questions and dipping into the postbag to find out your views on last week's episode. Welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I am Nicola.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Mike.
Right, team. Was that all right, Mike? I've asked for suggestions for you.
Yeah, thank you. It's easier than typing it into ChatGPT is to ask our lovely listeners to see if they've got any ideas.
Because you've had slices of electric cake, you've had peels of electric fruits.
We've done multiple cakes. I think we've done cheesecake, carrot cake. I think we've peeled most fruits in terms of that intro. So I'm just dry of ideas. So I just need a couple of weeks off to recharge my my batteries.
Fair.
So if there's any suggestions, they will be gratefully received.
Okay, we'll put you on a slow charge for now. You're all right.
Yeah,
You're just on a standard 11 kilowatt. That'll just keep you trickling.
Beautiful.
All right.
Excellent.
So what we've been driving this week then?
Well, you've done the most driving, haven't you? Judging by the videos in the YouTube channel, every time I look at it, there's another picture of you popping up somewhere. So,
it's been busy. So oh God, where do we start? I mean, the smart #5 was last week in Portugal, yes. I believe. Quite like that car. Very expensive, stupidly fast, too fast for a smart. It's quite weird. Like the whole sort of Brabus smart partnership that's going on, I'm finding really random. I can't help but always call a smart car because it's just in my language and just always will be. So it will always be a smart car 5, smart car #5. And it's one of those where you're driving it and I put my foot down and it's got stupid amount of horsepower. I can't actually remember the actual figure off the top of my head because I'm very tired today. But it was way too fast. But you're feeling like you're sat in a Mercedes, but then you have to remind yourself you just sat in a smart. Do you know what I mean? It's quite weird.
They're strange bedfellows, aren't they? Smart and Brabus. It's a bit like having a Dacia AMG, isn't it? It's a very strange kind of, if you think
exactly
someone at least slightly more aligned in their product range. But there we go.
Yeah,
but it has always been that way. You did it. You got a Brabus for 2 and a Brabus Roadster and all of that stuff. And the Roadster is supposed to be really good. I've never driven one actually, of the old smart. Yeah. But you see what smart's doing. I actually really quite like the #5. I'll be honest. When I sort of heard it was coming out, I was like, oh yeah, fine, whatever. But actually, having seen it, I quite like it. Albeit just it's another electric family crossover, blah, blah, blah. What's new about it? But actually, I think it looks quite cool. And the pricing on the standard one's not the Brabus one, which is insane, obviously. I actually thought it was quite good. So I'm quite excited about the #5. I'm open to it. I think it could actually be one of those sort of unexpectedly really competitive, really good options. But we'll have to see. It always comes down to monthly prices and all of that stuff. And, but I like all the, they do the kind of that outdoorsy looking one with all the lifestyle-y bits on it. I think that's quite kind of like affordable Defender-esque. I quite like it.
Yeah, I like that. But it's bigger than I expected it to be. So we actually did the measurements and it turns out you can exactly fit 2 of the original little smart cars within the space of the smart #5. And obviously the biggest comment on the YouTube video and on my Instagram is that you open the boot by sticking your finger in the a-hole. That's done pretty well on social media.
Obviously.
Not bad.
Yeah.
To be fair, the smart PR team were pretty happy with it, so I was all right with that. I was like, just so you know, I've posted a thing. It's doing well.
Did you have to sit and watch it charge up? Because some journalists who went on earlier rotations of that launch, which that was the press conference, was literally better than watching paint dry. They're watching the electric car charge up. So did you get subject to that or not?
Thankfully not. We arrived late because we were doing something else that day. So we arrived at about 10 o'clock that night. And meanwhile, I remember I landed and my phone was pinging like crazy because it was videos and pictures from Batch, who was like, we've just had to stand and watch a car charge for 18 minutes. And my God, I'm going crazy. But it did it in 18 minutes. But what was the best thing, according to Batch, was there was an Austrian journo that filmed the entire thing.
Wow, did he live streaming it?
I don't know. Just stood there with his phone, just filming the entire charging session, which I found quite funny. But thankfully, we avoided that, so that was good. So,
that's good.
Yes.
What else have you been driving or looking at?
What else has been going on?
Alpine?
Oh, yes, the Alpine A390. Well, here's the thing. The video has only just gone out, but actually we filmed that a couple of weeks back because we had a very cheeky exclusive day with them. We did. Because all the other car journos went out, I think, last week, and we went out a couple of weeks ago. So we got the sneaky ultimate preview where, I had about 20 minutes to film around the car, but that was fine. We've dealt with worse situations.
Luxury.
It wasn't a problem. But I quite like it. And I think for me, it's the really nice nods to the A110. I'm such a fan of the A110, always have been, always will be. And you can see that they've added those nods in and nods to their sort of Le Mans heritage, and the steering wheel obviously is taken from their sort of F1 heritage. And I think it's going to drive really well. I mean, you've got the 3 motors, 2 separate ones on the rear wheels, so it means it's going to drive like an absolute beast. And you've got settings within it that means you can learn how to drive better. Like it teaches you how to take corners better and that kind of thing, to basically just release your inner Pierre Gasly, basically. It's quite sexy.
I'm gonna slightly disagree with you there, because I think I don't know if I really see the A110 in it, if I'm honest.
Do you not?
I'm with you. I think the A110 is probably still my favourite car, performance car on sale. I love it. I want one desperately. I nearly cried when I first drove it on the launch and wrote the review, because it was like somebody had made a car for me. Like all the planets had aligned. I love it. I want one. One day I will own one. But I just think the A390 is very cool, but I don't really see much of the A110 in it. I think it looks
not even in the
interesting.
bonnet.
Not really, no.
And the swooshes down the side and the rear. Oh, I can't believe you can't see it.
It's a disagreement.
But I mean, I have seen the A390 in the metal, as they say, really late last year. It was a sort of really early, sort of a sneaky car of the year preview thingy. It wasn't quite finished.
Yeah.
But I think it looks really cool. And I think, I really hope it does well. I just, as you say, it needs to drive really amazingly, because I think Alpine buyers are going to be a bit of a hard crew to win over when it comes to that kind of thing. It's a bigger electric car, and I'm not saying it won't. I think it might. I think Alpine have got a bit of magic going on, so I sincerely hope that they do, and I look forward to finding out. But it's got a lot to prove, that car. And, I'm really interested to see how it drives. I think it's great, but I don't really think it looks like an A110.
I think it does.
I don't really see
that's fine.
But there you go. That's fine.
We'll agree to disagree.
We'll agree to disagree.
My issue with it was just how dark it was inside, and there's going to be no option of a panoramic roof, and sitting in those rear seats was not an enjoyable experience because it's just so dark. I mean, the materials and everything will feel really nice when you're sat inside it, but you're sat in the back going, it feels dark in here, and I know that if I'm sat in the back and someone's ragging it, I will be car sick. Absolutely. Yeah, that's how I felt about that. Yeah.
When do we drive it?
I don't know. When is that?
I'm not sure. It'll be a few months.
I'm not asking you to check the diary.
I just wonder.
You'll decide late this year.
No, later this year. Let's just go with that.
Okay.
I've also said farewell to my Peugeot long-termer. My E3008 has gone. So the review you'll find up on electrifying.com, all the pictures and what it was like to live with for the last 6 months. And I am now in a BYD Seal. And I've driven it to Heathrow, and I've driven it to Tesco, and it's bloody lovely. I am liking it, even though I've only really driven it twice because it's only arrived a couple of days ago. But it's a beautiful thing. I mean, we're already a fan of that car anyway. I have the stupidly fast version. I have the 0 to 62, 3.8 seconds version. And I have been behaving myself, thankfully. So far, so good, even though we're 2 drives in. That's it. But
the thing that annoys me most about that car, and it's a really good car, is the fact that they've written 3.8 on the back of it. That's what really annoys. Everything else I quite like. The fact that they've written 3.8 on the back of it, I'm like, so unnecessary.
It's just proud, babe. That's all it is.
Yeah. I'm British, and I'm not very good at shouting about myself and self-promotion. And I find the idea of writing your 0 to 62 mile per hour time on the back of the car to be a bit vulgar, if I'm honest.
It's a bit like writing your YouTube subscribers on the back of your car every 5 minutes. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Apart from that, it's great. I do really like the Seal.
So keep an eye on online because I'll be writing about that, and obviously there'll be a video in due course. But I've got that until November, so that's nice. Over to you, team.
Well, I've been splitting my time between the Buzz and a long-term Cupra Tavascan, which I'm running for a few weeks.
How's that?
Well, it's trickled down. I think Ginny had it for a bit, and then Tom had it for a bit. So, generally speaking, if that happens, there's something wrong with it, or everyone hates it. If it's landed on it's come my way, there's usually something wrong with it. But it's an interesting thing. It's fast. It's the kind of you definitely feel it's the second evolution of the MEB platform, because the Buzz obviously is the Buzz I've got is the first generation sort of MEB thing with the smaller screens. Everything. The Tavascan is the kind of second phase, if you like, and you can definitely feel how it's a bit more refined. But I tell you what, the brakes, geez Louise, they are terrible on that car. They've got a strange thing where the regen hands over to the physical brakes, and it's right at the end of the pedal travel. So at first I thought I was being cack-handed. Sometimes when you jump in a car, you stand it on its nose at a junction, you think, oh, got my ankle pressure wrong there. It must be in the car I've been driving before. I drove home 3 hours and I was still doing it, and I thought, this is really weird. And I spoke to Tom, who'd run it before. He said, yeah, it's really strange. You brake and you have like a constant pressure as if you come into a halt, and then all of a sudden for the last 10 meters or so, it's like doubles the brake force. So you end up sort of slowing down, and then suddenly almost like an emergency stop. It's really hard to regulate. And from what I can gather, listening, you can't hear the pads on the discs up until the last bit where it really starts to get grabby. So I'm presuming that's the bit where the kind of regen braking hands over to the physical, puts 100% into the physical braking, the friction brakes. And that's calibrated wrongly, differently, I don't know. I mean, time will tell if I get used to it, but every time I jump from the Buzz into that, I do end up standing this thing on its nose about 10 meters short of a junction, because I just haven't got used to the brakes on it. But
does the regen bring you down to a complete stop? I'm just wondering how the full regen would work with that.
It doesn't. I find using it in B mode has improved it, because it does a lot of the braking for you before, so you don't have that. But no, it doesn't. I mean, the Volkswagen Group sort of intelligent sort of regen is actually very good. I found it even on the Buzz. It knows when corners are coming up, junctions are coming up, it knows when you're going downhill. It's one of the better ones, I think. But certainly that really kind of slightly takes the edge off it. Maybe I'll get used to it, I don't know, but it does kind of overshadow the rest of it, which is otherwise brilliant. So, and also the Buzz, I've been driving the Buzz quite a bit. And if you've got a Buzz, if you drive a Transporter or any kind of van, you'll know that your life is ruled by height restrictions in car parks. And I was parking at the Sofitel for the Peugeot launch the other week. And I think
that's quite tight down there.
Yeah, the height restriction I think is 2 meters, and the Buzz is 1 meter 96. And when you Google it, some places come out and says it's 1 meter 99 if you've gone for those tires, and if it's, I think, oh man alive, which one is it? So there are a few things in life more scary than driving along thinking. It just feels like it's going to scrape the top of your head off, because
did you naturally duck?
I was ducking. Well, I duck. I'm 6'5". I duck all the time. But, that's my life. But some of those kind of you think, because you wonder, did they retrofit those air conditioning pipes after they put the sign up? Because that seems jolly low, in that car park as it goes across. So, it was quite a scary experience. I was glad to get out of that car park. But
that's the thing that you've also got to remember if you're driving a van and then you put roof rails on top. You've got to remember that you've got the roof rails on top. That's the situation that my husband finds himself in, because he's got roof rails on top of his van. Then he'll go, oh no, it's fine because the vehicle's like this tall. And then he goes, oh yeah, roof rails. Pure panic
terrifying
mode.
It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant.
Vicky?
Right. Oh, well, what have I been driving? Well, I have actually been on holiday. So I've been climbing mountains. I did the 3 peaks in the UK, and then I went to Greece, where I rode a donkey and hired a Fiat Panda, an old Fiat Panda. So I haven't really been driving anything relevant or done anything relevant.
How many horsepower in the donkey?
I think it was probably 0.75. Nice. I'm not sure. Yeah. However, I was very grateful because we were actually out in Santorini, and you get the donkey back up the hill. Oh. So, and I can confirm the donkeys were well cared for. They looked like they really were kind of like, they were much loved donkeys. And I had a fantastic time. But I can't really help very much with what I've been driving, apart from, I've still got a very high mileage Model 3 hanging about, which I'm actually still really enjoying.
Yeah.
And I drove that to the airport and back, and that was it.
Okay,
So
we'll let
not
you
a
off
lot,
this
but
week.
I've been keeping up on the news and seeing what all you guys have been doing, and it's all been very exciting. So yeah, so I'm afraid I can't help much on that front.
Well,
Sorry.
I mean, if you're the one keeping up on the news, then you might as well deliver the news. Go on then.
Well, thanks. Talking of which, the Renault 4. Now, this does excite me because, well, Nick, you drove it as well, didn't you? Renault 4. Very exciting car. I'm very interested. I can't tell you how I agonised about the star rating on this car because I thought it was so good, and yet there was something about it that I was just a bit like, I don't know. But pricing actually confirmed now, so this is good. So the Renault 4 is going to start from 26,995. Don't forget that is the bigger battery. You can't get the smaller battery on the Renault 4, so like you can in the Renault 5. So that's pretty good actually. So it's quite a bit cheaper than, I don't know, what is it? I mean, MG S5 EV. It's even cheaper than that, isn't it? That kind of thing. But it's good. I think that's pretty good for the Renault 4. So,
I think that's pretty good. But we were discussing this though, weren't we? Because we were saying, wouldn't it be nice if you could have an all-wheel drive version with the rollback roof? But that doesn't seem to be an option at the moment. So I feel like if that's the kind of vibe that you want with your Renault 4, you should totally hold fire.
Yeah. See, we still haven't actually got confirmation of how much the canvas roof is going to cost.
Or if it's
we know that's going to arrive.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've. I'm not sure. Is that what the sort of? Do we think it's not going to arrive at all? They sort of said that it was, didn't they?
They kind of said it was, but then kind of didn't confirm it, did they?
I thought they said it was definitely arriving after launch. However, it being UK, maybe there's a question mark over whether it will come to UK. As I understand it, it is, but they haven't confirmed pricing and exactly when it's going to arrive yet. But I mean, 27 grand starting price, and then going up to, the mid-spec one. So it's £2,000 for the Techno, which I think will be the most popular one.
Yeah.
So, 29,000 basically for the Renault 4 that you want.
So that is interesting then, isn't it? Because that is bang on Renault 5 money as well, isn't it? So if you want the 150 horsepower Renault 5, that is 26,995 as well. So it's kind of like, how do you want your Renault? Do you want it?
It's a grand or so more than the Renault 5, isn't it? Because it's if you want the Techno, So I think the Renault 5, the big battery Renault 5, isn't it a little bit more expensive?
The big battery, is just 27 grand. It's the same money. So which is
interesting.
So there you go. That isn't So it's I think that could be really good news for the Renault 4. I think that's
because there was a big question about where it's going to sit because, manufacturers don't like generally to have, they can have a bit of overlap with models, don't they? But they don't tend to like to put them head to head. So it's interesting that they've pretty much pitched that.
I think Renault considers it probably quite a different person that's going to buy Renault 4 to the Renault 5.
It's quite a confident move,
And I like the fact that Renault's doing things like this at the moment. They're sort of challenging the convention, aren't they? But I think that's pretty good. I think I do think that's it will come down to monthlies, and I think they're going to be pretty competitive as well because I reckon the residual is going to be good on the Renault 4. I think it's a really sweet little car. I'm looking forward to seeing that in the UK and seeing how well it does because I think it will do well, I have to say.
I agree. Right, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of the Kilowatt Half Hour is brought to you with the help of Anderson EV. So if you're into design as much as you are into electric cars, you will love their home chargers.
Anderson's A2 and A3 aren't just functional, they are beautifully made with a choice of 200 colours and finishes so that they can blend in with your home or be made to match your car.
No bulky boxes, just smart tech that looks great and works. You can find them at anderson-ev.com.
Marvellous. So who is holding on to Barnard's Bargain of the Week? Obviously, he's not on the podcast this week, so who's doing it?
He's not, but he's sent the carrier pigeon, and the news of Barnard's Bargains of the Week have landed this morning. So I can reveal the two cars that one he's found and one I've found. So it's a bit of a mixture this week. So Barnard's Bargain is the lease deal, the MG4 long range, 64 kilowatt hour. It's a pre-reg, but it's £237 per month with a 2,131 initial rental.
Nice.
That's a good car, the MG4 long range, isn't it? That's that's a good proper 200 mile plus. For 237 a month is really good. I think that's on 8,000 a year annual. So that's not the kind of, because you see them for 6,000 and 5,000 miles. You think, well, most people are going to do that, aren't they? So they're going to go over that. But at least 8,000 seems a bit more realistic. Details of that and all the other leasing deals that we've got on the electrifying.com site. But this is the one I found. Do you want a cheap Ioniq 5? You know the Ioniq 5? We love the Ioniq 5, don't we? Yeah. I found one, 58 kilowatt hour, 12.5 grand, 12,555 of your English pounds.
What's wrong with it?
Well, I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with it, but, and this isn't a problem, I don't think, it's done 99,416 miles.
Wow.
It's a 21 car, so it's done that in 4 years. So, it's healthy. I suspect it may have been used as a cab, a mini cab. I don't know. But, there's lots of other sort of use cases where they end up doing huge mileages. But yeah, so there we go. I mean, there was a picture of the dashboard of it, and it was at 78% battery, not battery health, but battery charge. And it was still at something like 190 miles. And you kind of think, well, my 73 kilowatt hour Ioniq 5 was barely doing 200 miles on a full charge. So that's pretty good. Obviously healthy enough. I don't know if it's been rapid charged to death. I don't know. It doesn't look like it, but the inside looks a little bit shiny in terms of the seats, as you can imagine, for someone that's done that mileage. But
but we know these days that most EV, we know that kind of modern lithium ion and MC and LFP batteries tends to be age rather than mileage that actually does contribute to the degradation, as well as obviously rapid charging and this kind of thing, and just kind of that kind of heavy use. So I mean, if it's done that kind of mileage, it's probably been rapid charged a fair bit. But even so, I wouldn't be surprised if the battery's still in good condition. But that's the kind of thing where I'd say seems amazing, but do make sure you get kind of a battery health check before you buy it. But I mean, well, I don't know, like I said, I've mentioned before, I've got this ridiculous Model 3 with 180,000 miles, and that's still got 90% battery health.
Yeah.
Different battery of the Ioniq 5, but you can get battery tests out there, or get the seller to do one for you. And
that Hyundai's a pup compared to
I'd be tempted. I think that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
There you go. Good Motors in Bury if you're interested. Yeah. So there you go.
Nice. Right, so let's get on to... Oh, yeah, thank you very much. Barnard's Bargains of the Week. So let's get over to the EV questions that have come in. This is from Dan Collins, who says, Dear team, I wonder if you can help us. The PCP is coming to an end on our 2021 Ioniq 38 kilowatt hour, and we need a new car. Exciting. It's been great, but I really want an EV that can get me to London and back 220 miles in the winter without needing to charge. I also have one toddler and another little one along the way. Congratulations. And we need enough room for all of the related paraphernalia. We also want to get out of car financing, and we have saved £20,000 for this new car. We have been looking at second-hand SUV EVs and are shocked to see how much their range drops off in the winter. Their range, sorry. We've looked at the Mark 1 E Neros, but we're worried that there isn't enough boot space. What do you guys think? My wife thinks that I'm being silly about needing 220 miles of range, and it's only currently an issue because the Ioniq takes a lifetime to rapid charge. Whatever car we get will be an upgrade, surely. The only thing that we won't consider is a Tesla due to Elon. Stressed, but very grateful, Dan. Right. Your thoughts, please, team.
My first thought was a Polestar 2, but I don't know if the boot, which is pretty massive, but obviously it's sort of fastbacky, saloony shaped. So if you've got a really big old buggy, if you've got a toddler and a little one, and you've got a big sort of double buggy, something like that, that might be an issue. Mm-hmm. Or I was thinking Ioniq 5 maybe, but do we think 220 miles real world in the winter, is that achievable, or is that pushing it a bit? Depends, doesn't it? I think it's pushing it a little bit.
You'd need the big battery one, I think. I'd never achieve that, because that's almost my exact case, because I live 240 miles from Heathrow rather, and that's my aim, is to get there and back without charging. And I haven't had a car yet that does that, so I'm always about 10 miles short of that. So I know what he means. I shortlisted two, which was, one is very predictable, which is the Skoda Enyaq, which there's a lot of them about.
Solid.
You'd need the big battery ones. Go for the 77 kilowatt hour battery, but there's a load of those for under 20 grand. You can get quite a nice lowish mileage one of those. That goes 340 mile WLTP, so I think you'd be pretty confident of getting 220. You might get someone who's put a heat pump on it as well, so here's an option. So if you really kind of want to do that, then that's that. The other one's a bit left field, but it's a car I really liked. I wasn't expecting to, but I did, which is the Volvo XC40 Recharge, now known as the EX30. It's the EX40, isn't it?
EX40, yeah.
So that's a 79 kilowatt hour battery, 441 litre boot, big boot. and 330 mile WLTP range. So I think you'd easily eke out 220 miles in the winter in that. But it's a combustion car that got converted to electric. So you've got the slight downsides of it's not huge in the back like an Enyaq is in the back seats. But if you've only got little ones, then it's not quite a big problem. But I don't know, either of you driven the EX, the 40? What do you think?
I did before it got rebranded before it got rebadged. Yeah, I did. It's a lovely car. I don't know, the boot's not that massive, is it? But I mean, it's pretty good. I think I think it would probably do the job. It's a lovely car.
Yeah.
I do think don't discount a Mark 1 e-Niro. If you're kind of thinking about saving as much money as possible in the purchase price, you could get a really decent e-Niro, sort of a late e-Niro. And they're so efficient in the real world. That's the thing, you know, so you will get quite a decent range out of it. I think 220 in winter, I think you probably will just about. But I mean, I'd say you're going to be eking it a little bit. But I mean, I ran an e-Niro as a long-termer for about 6 months or so, did a lot of miles in it. And I mean, I was getting like 4.5 to 5 miles per kilowatt hour out of it without trying very hard.
During winter, really not during winter.
Oh, in winter, in summer I was getting 5. In winter I was getting sort of 4.3, 4.5.
Oh, blimey.
Really impressive. So I do really like the e-Niro. I think for the money they're really good cars. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I would say confidently that you're definitely going to get 220 miles to a charge in winter. Might depend on how you're driving on the motorway. So I don't know, but I wouldn't discount it. It's a great value for money car as well. But I think probably the Enyaq is going to be the best bet, isn't it? I reckon.
Okay.
I think.
Cool.
Right, moving on we've got another message from Darren Fawcett. He says, "Hello, Electrifying team. I moved to Germany in 2017, and like roughly 70% of Germans, I live in a flat and have no at-home parking. I'm currently leasing an Opel Grandland 1.2 petrol until next year. My heart wants an id.buzz. My parents had a Type 2 camper for a while. It was slow, noisy, and drank fuel like it was going out of fashion, but we loved it. Cars are not always a rational decision." Yeah. Agreed. VW are planning a platform-wide upgrade from MEB to MEB Plus starting next year. Any idea how that might affect the Buzz, both in terms of timescale and what kind of improvements might be expected? Can Mike offer any advice on long-distance motorway strategy? I'll happily drive at 60 or 65 to save a few pennies and also to avoid an extra charging stop. I visit the UK 3 or 4 times a year. The ferry is about 450 miles from home, and family in the UK are a further 250 miles from the ferry. Well,
it's over to Mike.
You're going to need to charge. I'm going to tell you that now. I mean, I don't think you don't buy a Buzz because you want to go long distances without charging up, because it is desperately inefficient because it's the size of a warehouse and weighs a lot. So I think the new ones are a bit better. The slightly bigger battery, and it has the APP 550 drive system, drive motor, whatever, and that's a lot more efficient than the one that's in my one, for example. But as for MEB Plus, I don't think it's going to be the kind of thing that I think they'll build new models on it. So when the Buzz eventually gets replaced, then it will be on MEB Plus. But I think we're talking at least, 3 or 4 years down the line. Certainly if Volkswagen take the same approach to Buzz, because it's technically a commercial vehicle, it's sold through Volkswagen's commercial vehicle network. So if that's on the same lifespan, the design life as their other commercial vehicles, then that's usually a lot longer than cars are. So they usually, try and eke transporters out to 7, 8, 9 years. So it could be a longish wait for an MEB Plus version of that. And it's just more efficient from what we've been told, it's different battery packaging, that kind of thing. So I don't think the range has held the Buzz back. So, and I would say that in terms of, because of the joy it will bring you, I would say if you want one, get one, and just stop once or twice more often, to be honest. I think there's no point lumbering yourself with something you hate, because it means you've got to stop fewer times. Make the most of it, enjoy it.
One of the best things I think you've ever said about the Buzz, which is one of my favourite ever Mike lines, is the Buzz has the aerodynamics of a supermarket. That's so good.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that would upset Adrian Newey. I suspect it would. It's just a big old block, isn't it? So I didn't even bother putting that. No point spending money putting that in the wind tunnel. It's a waste of time. Just build it. So yeah, it's not a rational decision. I'd say buy one and,
if you've got your heart set on it, you'll just make it work, though, won't you? If that's
you will.
what
You will
want,
make
then
it
just
work.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good thing. So yeah, do that, but don't expect an MEB Plus version of it anytime soon. Which, knowing my predictions, means they'll announce it next week. So that's right. Okay, moving on. We've got another one. This is a short one, and it says, it's for me again. A question for Mike. I've always loved the BMW i3, and I'm looking at getting one in the next year or so. How well does the app work? Can you preheat it and turn the heated seats on from the app? It's a good app. It's this BMW standard BMW Connect app. It is a bit limited. I mean, when I first got it, whatever it was, 6-7 years ago, it was ahead of the game. It was brilliant. You could preheat your car with the app. It was one of the few ones that actually did that. But now it feels a little bit. You can preheat it. You have no control over what temperature it does because it heats it to 21 degrees because BMW decided that's warm. And you can't heat the seats separately. But then I couldn't in the Ioniq 5 either. But it is it's because it's been around so long, it is very stable. I mean, all the other apps I've used have tended to flake out, or you have to log in again and put your details in. The BMW one's been, certainly for the last 5 years or so, been absolutely rock solid. So yeah, it does work. I would recommend it. I'd also recommend an i3, as you know.
Yes, you love that car.
I do.
This is from Neil 300ZX, who says, "Hi all. Come the 7th of June, we will be a 3 EV household with an Ioniq 5, Fiat 500e and a VW id.buzz Cargo. The Cargo is a company van. The Fiat 500e is my daughter's. The Ioniq 5 is my wife's. Wouldn't go back by choice. So thought it might be fun to do your perfect 3-car EV garage. Fun little game for us to play. Thanks to Neil."
Okay. Go on then.
You're going to me first.
Yeah, you're the one who suggested it. Let's see what you think.
I thought you might inspire me to
stitch yourself up now.
Oh, bum. Right, okay. Right. Let's go solid day-to-day, like sort of weekly standard day-to-day car.
Okay.
I mean, I know I've only been in it for a week, but I'm very happy in that Seal. Very happy in that, and I feel like it suits my life very well. I think I've just got bored of the SUV side of things. Got bored of being quite high up every day, so I'm quite enjoying being lower down. So that will just be my day-to-day. To have something a little bit more fun for the weekends, I'd probably have myself a little Cyberster. I know that you've had annoying issues with it, Vicky, when you had it and it bugged you a little bit, but it's a weekend fun little let's get the top down, let our hair down, have a wonderful time kind of car. That's how I'm feeling. And then I feel like naturally, just for a bit of fun and for a bit of boy racing, I'd go Renault 5. Done. Solved.
Oh. Nice.
Okay.
Over to you, Mike.
Okay, I would have. What would I have? I'd start at the bottom. I'd have my old Twizy back, which I regretted selling.
Yeah.
I love that. I was an idiot selling that anyway.
Yeah,
I'd have the Renault Twizy. I'd keep it small. I'd have a Fiat 500e. I like that.
It's such a weird answer from such a tall man.
I know. There's loads of room with 500e. And I'd probably have an Ioniq 5N.
Oh, okay.
Because, at the end of the day, I'm still an idiot. So it would still be quite nice to have that. So,
okay.
Yeah, that would be mine. That would be my 3. 2 smalls and a medium, I would say, is my
solid.
My choice.
Well, can I please have a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo? I'll have it in that lovely sort of dusky blue they do. And I would like the non-leather interior. I've got all of my, I know what wheels I want. Not that I spent quite a lot of time on the configuration or anything. Yes. Obviously, I want the big battery. So that's the first one up, definitely. And then I would like, this is a bit controversial, I'd like a Honda E because I love the Honda E.
Oh.
And as a second car in the household, I think it would be fabulous. And I still think it's a spectacular little car, and just because it looks awesome. So I'm going to go Honda E.
Aquarium and everything, yeah.
Bit controversial, I know. And to be honest, my heart's a bit torn because I do also love the i3 and the Renault 5. So for my second kind of runabout, I'm like, those are more practical, longer range. But then I've got so much love for the Honda E. It's such a brave little car. So there you go, Honda E. And my third car is also probably going to be... oh my goodness. This is where I stumble because I'm like, I don't know. But I'm probably going to go Ioniq 5N as well. And I know I've already got the Porsche, so I probably don't need another really big.
We can share it. That's fine.
But
are you okay
so
with that?
Cool. I mean, and then you've got every possible, scenario covered, haven't you? I just love them. I love all of them. So there you go.
I think I'm the only one on the team that hasn't driven the 5N. I think I'm the only person.
Oh my God, you've got to. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
See,
so
I couldn't add
it's
that
so
to my
good.
list because I've never experienced it. I've heard wonderful things, but I've never experienced it. Maybe when
can I
have
also just make a very quick nod here to Neil here, who started this whole 3-car garage thing? Because from one JDM fan to another, I'm assuming at some point he either had or wanted a 300ZX. And fair play, because that is quite a cool car. And I haven't seen one on the road for a very long time. I had a Celica GT4 myself. I was a GT4 girl, so there you go. Anyway, I hope you have many happy memories of your 300ZX, Neil. And I do like your electric car garage. It's excellent. So yeah, good for you.
I think we'd like to hear everybody else's electric car garages as well.
Yeah.
Well, in the comments, and see what you think.
Yes, please.
Let's see if there's any resemblance to ours, or whether they're completely left field. We'll read out.
Maybe
the best
we need
ones
another
next
Electrifying
week.
Team 3-car garage special podcast as well, because I will have completely changed my mind as well.
Same.
By the next time somebody asks me tomorrow, I will have completely different choices. So
thing is, the more you drive, the more you change your mind. That's the tricky part. I probably wouldn't have said a Seal unless it got delivered this week, but now I've been driving it, and now I know I can floor it and have a great time with it. I'm like, yeah, I'll pick that. Lovely. But then if I'm driving something else next week, I'll choose something else.
Yeah,
I have to say the Taycan Cross Turismo has been in my 3-car dream garage for years and years. So I think that's a stayer, I reckon. But it's all good. Right, shall we move on before we spend the next hour talking about 3-car garages?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a question from another Neil. He says, I bought my BMW EV from a used dealer 2 years ago, and they agreed to charge the car before delivery. On pickup day, I found the car was showing 23 miles of range. Oops. And they told me that they weren't able to charge the car because their insurance wouldn't allow that overnight. This is despite the fact that they had 4 days to charge it. Unfortunately, I didn't have a charger at home, and they didn't supply me with a 13 amp charger, which is the one that you can just plug in at a 3-pin domestic socket, and saying that there hadn't been one with the car. I can't say I believe this. So I drove to the nearest charging station, finding 2 rapids in the nearby town. And that was his first time charging an EV. And even without any preparation, he found it quite easy. Anyway, it sounds like he's been using the 13 amp charger since then. And after melting an extension lead. Oh, Neil, we tell you not to use extension leads. Come on, you know this.
Never.
You know this.
He didn't. It's his first EV. Give him cutting some slack.
And then it's fine. It's a happy ending. He managed to have a dedicated charging socket fitted a week later. To say that the dealer could have made things easy for me would be an understatement. I would agree with you. I mean, that's a bit of a horror story, isn't it? And I also find the whole insurance not being able to charge overnight. Maybe at that point they didn't have proper dedicated car chargers either. So maybe that's
4 days. 4 days.
They're a car dealer, Vicky. It sounds like you're running this car dealer. What do you know about it? You're defending them straight away.
I'm not defending them, but I just can't figure out why this would have happened. It seems like such a peculiar thing.
Yeah, Vicky Parrott Motors. It says, yes, there is at the bottom of it.
Yeah. No, they forgot about it and then came up with excuses. Yeah. That's exactly what they've done.
Well, I think, Neil wins the award for perseverance there, doesn't he? Yeah. Because, I mean, that would have broken a lesser person, I suspect, in terms of, first new to EV, not getting any form of, handover. You get a car with 23 miles left on it, no granny charger, no cable by the sounds of it. I mean, that's pretty poor form, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're trying to get people to switch to electric, and that's kind of how they're, treated. It's poor, I would say.
It is nerve-wracking making that first switch to an EV and you've never experienced it and you've never charged at a public charger before. It's quite a scary experience because you don't know what you're doing. And it's quite a lot of pressure as well because you'll rock up at a charger and you see everyone else knowing what they're doing. Yeah, so you feel that bit of pressure to kind of pretend that you know what you're doing when you really don't. Yeah. So bless you, Neil. Well, fair play. Well done. And that is, bad form from BMW there. Don't like that.
Well, I think it was a BMW. I'm not sure it was a BMW dealer, but not that I'm, defending them. I'm defending them now.
From a used dealer. Bad form from the used dealer. There we go.
Anyway, there we go. Another one. This is from Mark Knight 6267. Says, I took delivery of my Hyundai Ioniq 584 kilowatt hour long range in January. Well done. And I covered 5,000 miles in it so far. As a first EV, I've been more than happy with nearly every aspect of ownership of the car. If I do have one complaint, it's about EV ownership. It's the ridiculous state of fast chargers at our motorway services. With the level of uptake of EVs across the motoring industry, it seems almost laughable that most services only have half a dozen chargers, and usually only a couple of those are rapid chargers. Even more annoying is the fact that within sight are usually 15 to 20 Tesla chargers already installed. it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this, or even your experiences. Well, yeah. You have a point, Mark. I think the problem stems that the fact that, the motorway service infrastructure in the UK is ancient. Most of it dates back to the 60s and 70s, when the idea that we'd all be driving electric cars and needing to charge them up was, would have been stuff of science fiction, really, wouldn't it? So places that you've got built in the 60s, like on the M6, all the really ancient ones, they've barely got enough power to run, the KFC there, let alone try and charge up hundreds of cars. But I mean, I know Neil said in his email that he has to sort of leave the motorway and seek out a fast charger somewhere else. And I think I use motorway services at absolute last resort. I don't know about you guys do. I mean, it's better than it was 2 or 3 years ago, but
it depends on where you are in the country, though. Like the further north you go, the more tricky it tends to get, I find.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of the time, if you're driving around mostly south, or anything kind of south of Manchester, you can kind of drive around and know that if you are just going to rock up at a random services, there probably will be a charger and it probably will work and you'll be fine. But anything sort of further north than that, then it starts to get a little bit on edge, and anywhere a little bit more rural than that then feels a little bit more on edge. But I feel like we're getting there. For me, so I'm down in Sussex, and we went through a phase where there was just a whole lot of nothing going on down here. And it was so stressful. Every time I was given an EV, this is back when I was working for someone else, I didn't have charging at home, and I would panic because there was nothing down here at all. But lately, I went to Pease Pottage Services, and I only went because I needed to change my windscreen, and that's where Autoglass are based. And I went there, and I haven't been there in a while, and they now have 20 rapid chargers and 15 Tesla superchargers all set up in that services. That wasn't there last year. So I feel like they're getting there. They're just doing it bit by bit, but maybe they need to focus on the more rural and more northern areas first, whereas now we're getting better down here. It just needs to be focused a little bit more up north.
Yeah, I've got a member of the family that that works in installing rapid charge hubs, and he said that Tesla basically were ahead of the game. They cherry picked all the services that had really good grid connections with headroom to cope with more chargers. So GridServe, who picked it up from Ecotricity, were left with services that were really, really tight on power. So yeah, Tesla did took the easy wins. So it's why you sometimes see 2 or 4 GridServe units, and then you only, as you say, you see 15 or 20 Tesla ones. And you think, well, how have they done that? That's kind of how they did it. They got in first, really. So but it is improving, isn't it?
It's getting there.
Yeah, I'm with Nick in that I think I've seen a huge improvement in services in the last sort of 18 months to 2 years. I think most services I go into have actually got a decent bank of third-party chargers now, as well as Teslas and stuff. It is getting better, and we're seeing more and more of the supercharger hubs as well. They've just put one in at the bottom of the A34 and the M3, which is great.
That's amazing.
And this news just in, so actually today it's been announced that they've actually changed the planning permission regulations for installing charging. So actually it's basically they've made it easier to install public charging points for places like services and this kind of thing, because that was one of the problems, is it was often a bit of a bottleneck in terms of getting planning permission. So hopefully, given that now the government's changed some of the planning permission requirements in order to make it easier to fit, particularly to fit multiple public chargers, it might get better even quicker now. I sincerely hope that they will also change the regulations in that respect on having shelters over the chargers, because one thing that really annoys me is that you go to the services, and even when there is a massive bank of chargers and you've got free access, if it's hooning down with rain or sideways winds or something, it's really unpleasant having to stand there and faff about plugging a car in with no shelter. And that, I know, is also to do with planning regs. So if we can please have, yes, I agree, more chargers, more shelters, and if we can put some solar panels on those chargers, that would all make even more sense, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Anyway.
And healthier snacks, please, because it's always the bad stuff.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Right. Okay, we're going on to BYD. Interesting. So this is from @DFID7Tora. Hi. When I test drove the BYD Seal Performance in the autumn, I was disappointed by the efficiency and regen and seemed to be all on the brakes. It was fun to drive, although the boot was impractical for such a large car and the tech was not intuitive enough. That's interesting you should say that, because now I am driving a Seal. Yeah, the boots. I mean, it's a different style boot. It's not a hatchback or anything like that. So you just kind of end up getting used to the shape and size of the boot. I guess you can get a suitcase in there, no problems. That seems to be okay. I find the tech very intuitive in the Seal. I find it works pretty well. I haven't had any technical issues. It logs straight onto my Apple CarPlay. The sat-nav works really well. I enjoy the fact that you can use your 3 fingers to go up and down to change the temperature, left and right to change your fans, and everything all just seems to work pretty well. And you press the buttons on the steering wheel, they're pretty quick. So I don't have an issue with that. But I understand about the regen. Now, there is, as far as I'm aware, no one-pedal driving within the Seal, or I'm yet to find it. I don't know. There's just standard and high. I keep mine on high because I like a strong regen, and it's not really doing much, but it is something I guess you just kind of get used to. But then I've been driving the Peugeot 3008, which is just not really offered much in terms of regen as well. Anyway, so I guess I'm kind of used to that now. It depends on how much you love one pedal driving and how much force you like in your regen. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, that, isn't it? I think BYD says that it is one pedal driving because it will bring the car completely to a halt on regen, but it's nowhere near as heavy as some other one pedal. So I think I'd probably question that. But I mean, obviously, when you are using the brake pedal, you're still using regen. You're still gathering energy, and you're still improving efficiency. So up to a certain extent, when you're on the brake pedal, unless you're really hard on the brake pedal, when it basically depends on how heavily you're braking as to whether the car will fall back on the friction brakes or whether it's using regen. And that's why on some cars, like what you were describing earlier with the Tavascan, you get that sudden change when you can feel it moving from regen into actual friction brakes with traditional pads and stuff. But the BYD, I thought it was pretty efficient when I drove it. So it's,
I'm going to do some maths while you discuss between you of the numbers that I've been getting.
Well, I was going to say I drove it quite a while ago and abroad. So Nick, you might have a slightly better impression than me on real world efficiency, but I certainly thought it was pretty good. And I think others have better brake regen. I didn't hate it. I still think Hyundai Kia have got brake regen pretty much nailed, haven't they? Being able to sort of toggle through it on the paddles on the steering wheel, having it as adaptive or not as adaptive. It's just, it all kind of makes sense. And I've always thought they've kind of got it right from the off, really, with that. But yeah.
Right, hang on a minute.
While you're still working it out, I think we probably need to wrap this up because we're getting on for 50 minutes here. So I'm going to do the last comment, which I keep moving from one to the other because we keep running out of time. But it's a question about regen. I thought this was the perfect one to add in. It was from John Kelly 9369. So it's a slightly off-piece question for you. But when motorist journalists talk about different regen braking modes when doing a road test, do they know if the strongest mode is applied? Do the brake lights come on? Surely it would be disconcerting for a following vehicle if they don't. Now, I knew off the top of my head, but I know you two guys probably don't. But UNECE, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, regulations 13H and 48. And are you familiar with those two?
You read about all this stuff before bed, don't you, Mike? This is
Literally, I wake up thinking about this. If deceleration is more than 1.3 meters per second, the brake lights are required to go on. So yes, and 1.3 meters per second ain't a lot.
Do you know what the really depressing thing is? I didn't know the specific regulation, but I did know about that fact.
You knew it was 1.3 meters per second.
I did know it was 1.3 meters per second, or I think it's also a G factor, isn't it? If it's more than 1 G, something like that.
You need to up that knowledge.
Right. Anyway,
you need to know the specific regulations. But that's yes. So yes, in a very long-winded way of saying it, John. Yes, they do come on. It would be disconcerting. I'd like to have it like Formula One cars when they're sort of harvesting. The brake light flashes, doesn't it, on the back of it? I'd like that. Yeah. That'll be a bit more kind of...
That'd be nice. Or they just get brighter as you brake harder. That'll be pretty
cool. I think that would be good. Yeah. So, there we go.
I've done my maths, by the way, because it doesn't come up in the car as miles per kilowatt hour. It's the kilometers per 100. I have to go on the converter. Anyway, it turns out I'm getting about 3.4, but I've literally only done 2 trips in it. So
good for you,
I don't know. Yeah, considering I've got the 3.8 second version, it's pretty good for me. Yeah, but I'll keep an eye on it. Is what I'll do.
Cool.
There we go. Is that? Are we done?
Yeah, that's just the 50 minutes done.
Cool, the kilowatt 50 minutes, brilliant. Well, as I told you at the start, Mike's on a trickle charge. He's on 11 kilowatts. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So please add your suggestions to the opening sentence of the podcast. And if you've got any questions, then send it to podcast@electrifying.com. I'll put your comments in the section below, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.